again, late February, NJCAA Hot Hoops. Kenya Landers and Dan Olson. We're really getting into some heavy duty, tough competition, Kenya, all throughout the country, real nail biting games. And we've got something new again this week. What do we got?
The new number one.
I know you like to say that.
I love to say that.
Congrats to Hutchinson Community College.
Absolutely.
Number one, 23-0. They got it rolling.
They got it rolling.
They're like I said, they're a model consistency, and we're gonna have John Anchis on today. He's gonna be on our hot seat, and maybe he's gonna give us some insight into his magic of what happens at Hutch, smack dab in the middle of the USA, and but they love their basketball in Kansas.
They do.
Just a reminder for people, the NJCAA National Tournament, that's going to be in Casper, Wyoming. They're going to be hosting it for the first time. March 26th, they kick it off. And I know I'll be there. And it's going to be at the Ford Wyoming Center. And we're going to see some good basketball, more so of a parity type thing than ever before. And that kind of leads into what we go through every week, the what's hot and what's not of the week. And who's hot?
Man, you know what's so crazy is we got some people on here that's hot this week, and last week they were not hot.
They were not hot.
They were not hot. You know, like we said, Hutch went 2-0, 23-0 in the country, ranked number one. Or 23-0 on their season, ranked number one in the country. And let me just tell you, they are hot. They are hot and they have it going, but they have just been steady Eddie all season. And
that's what they do.
Program. That's what they do. New Mexico, 2-0 this week. Washburn, all these teams were 2-0 this week. We got Eastern Florida State on the bounce back. Trinity Valley bouncing back with 2-0. Three Rivers out of Missouri, Eastern Arizona, Temple coming back with 2 wins this week. Butler County, 2 wins this week. Chipola, Chattanooga State.
There's a bounce back. Chipola, 2-0 for the week.
Major bounce back. And then Chattanooga State and Eastern Georgia State. So they all bounced back, looking squeaky clean this week, 2-0. And then let's talk about some people that are not.
Yeah.
Gulf Coast went 1-1. Blinn 1-1. Barton 1-1. Dodge City 1-1, and Utah State University 1-1. And Northwest Florida State went 0-1. Now listen, all these teams that are not hot this week, they're going to be back in the hot next week, because we just know how that goes with the parity of our game, like you're talking about. And the level of competition that everybody's playing against.
The roller coaster continues. I mean, the panhandle, when you have that 3 week, you have to play everybody 3 times, that grind, you better be on your game.
You got to stay on your game.
And obviously there's people that have faltered and others that have done well. Yeah. That's why it's going to be so interesting. Like that state tournament's going to be good, It is. So, but let's kick it off with Butler. Okay. Butler, we talked about last week, played Barton County, and we highlighted that game like, hey, that's going to be a pretty good game. Well, I was right. It was a 1-point win for Butler, who falls at number 21 this week in the poll. Okay. But a girl that we haven't talked about that's really an impactful freshman, Vera Ojenua, 6'3", at Barton County, put up 16 and 12 boards. She's been pretty consistent. This player is going to be sought after highly by a lot of people, obviously due to her size, but she's a numbers good. She gets it done, and so she's a vital component of Barton County. Barton, Butler, Hutch, Dodge, you got a frying pan there, just like you do in the Panhandle, just like you do in Texas. Those games are going to be really difficult games to finish down at the end.
Yeah.
So
really the finish, like whoever's toughest at that point.
Correct.
Like whoever's toughest, whoever's going to be able to push through the tiredness, push through the fatigue, and be able to keep it together in those high, intense and stressful situations are going to be
exactly
the that come out on top. Yeah.
All right. Talk about stressful. Gulf Coast, we were talking about last week, number 1 in the country. They go to Chipola and they get beat 86-80. Okay. Unfortunately, their star center, Izzy Mamadou, hurt her knee, blew her knee out. She's done for the year. Rory Kuhn at Gulf Coast confirmed that with me today. Unfortunate for her. But look, he's got them picked up. He's picked up the pieces and they've moved on, but they did take the hit at Chipola. But their point guard is extraordinary. Aaliyah Bartholomew. She's kind of the floor general for them, but she's got an arsenal of offensive game to her. She had 18 and 9 assists in that game. But the little dynamo that we've talked about before has continued to do. She's still got her bag of tricks. Okay. Tanija Purifoy had 32 and 13 assists that game. I think she had like 17 free throws made too in that game. All right. And then she turns around and gets 32 more against Tallahassee to go 2-0 for the week. So, you talk about a turnaround. They were like, gotta be kidding me. We got beat, we got drubbed by Northwest, Florida State. Now we got to turn around and play Gulf Coast again. And here they go, So hats off to Chipola, the Indians back on the hunt,
Back in the hot.
Exactly.
Back on the hot list. That's right.
The other team that we talked about, Salt Lake and Eastern Utah State, 2 of the better teams in that region, very evenly matched. Salt Lake gets the 4-point win. Salt Lake rolls into number 20 this week. And it was probably one off the 3-point line, off the free throw line. And, Salt Lake had some consistency from their overall team, with double figure performers, but it was really 2 tightly matched teams. So that's going to be another interesting region as that comes to play as we move on. The other game that we really highlighted last week was that Mississippi Gulf Coast and Pearl River game. The 2 new so-called heavyweights of the Deep South. Okay. And hey, Mississippi Gulf Coast put it on them. They won by 8 over Pearl River. Pearl River, though, sticking at number 10 this week.
Yeah.
And Taylor Johnson Matthews, their star guard, transfer from Wright State. She's an Ohio girl. 32 and 6 rebounds in the loss. Everybody's sticking 32 this week. But freshman wing player Jacqueline Houston had 17 and 7 for Mississippi Gulf Coast. And they out rebounded Pearl by 11. And I think that was like the defining part of that game that kind of got them over the top, So, and the games keep getting better. They keep going on and on and on, New Mexico rolls in at number 5 this week. No surprise. They beat South Plains by 12. And Panaya Davis, the dominating freshman, 14, 15 boards and 6 blocks.
Yeah.
That's a nice work. Nice job of 40 minutes of basketball.
Yeah.
Byron Coleman, who we know well at Angelina College down there in Lufkin. Don't sleep on Byron now. He's rolling. He beat Kilgore by 12 the other day. He's got a player down there. Now, we talked about Amira Walker, the little speed merchant, the track star basketball player, right?
Your nicknames today are fabulous.
Yeah, thank you. Marie Kanembe. 6'1" forward, sophomore, had 25 and 13 in that win. She's been injured, I think, earlier in the year, wasn't playing, and now he's got her back. And I'm sure he's delighted that he's got her back. You know, we can't talk this show without talking about Trinity Valley, right? And they avenged an earlier season loss, and they beat Blinn at Blinn by 2. So
that's like when you beat Blinn at Blinn by 2, that's really beating someone else at their home court by like 10.
Yeah, you have an advantage down there for sure.
Yeah.
And I think free throws kind of got them over the top there at the end. But good for the Valley. They notched a good W there, you know.
Needed it.
So, and then we go over to Arizona. We've talked about these back-to-back games with all their teams in their league.
Yeah.
And Eastern Florida or Eastern Arizona last week, they took the hit at home against Cochise. Mm-hmm. Well, then they went to Central Arizona and they beat Central Arizona twice. So they got back on. They're number 18 this week in the poll. And so they got 2 W's. That's a good thing for their team, out of Thatcher and putting them in the right track as we roll in through the late part of February coming up. Yeah. But then we got kind of another shocker. I mean, we got number 2 Gulf Coast beats Northwest Florida State. Northwest Florida State falls to 4. Their backcourt at Gulf Coast is legit. He's got kids that can play now. I mean, he's lost his big post, but they're figuring it out. They go on the fly. And 44 of those 71 came from their backcourt. And, the other problem was Northwest only shot 1 for 13 from the arc. So tough to, that 3-point line is valuable. You got to make your shots,
Tough night at the office.
Absolutely. So Northwest suffers like a couple of losses within a short period of time, which they weren't really planning on, but what's done is done in the Panhandle, But then our Hutchinson Blue Dragons keep rolling. They throttled Cloud by 30 and put 5 people in double figures. And, when we talked to John Anches today on the hot seat, he's got a freshman guard named Kiki Smith. She had 20 against Cloud, but she's put up some pretty solid numbers. She's a very deceiving guard, but she's getting a lot of major college interest. I think throughout the Midwest, and she's from the Midwest, but she's really come on for them and has been a consistent numbers player for the Hutch team. So much success to Hutch, and the beat goes on. When we come back, we'll talk some upload and see who we're going to see this next week here on NJCAA Hot Hoops. We'll be right back.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
We're back with Hot Hoops, Kenya Landers and Dan Olson. We're talking upload. We're seeing what's going to be cooking this next week. But before we get there, let's go back for a minute and talk about the Division II poll. They had a little change of the top couple of teams, and an old familiar name, Kirkwood, rolls back into number 2. Had a convincing victory, Kenya, against Iowa Western the other day. So Kirkwood, many-time national champion on the Division II side. They're at 2. Of course, number 1, undefeated. Johnson County stays at 25-0 and number 1. So there you go. We're going to have another good Division II, final tournament coming up too. It'll be interesting to see how those teams shake itself out,
Yeah, sure.
So, but, we've got some really good nationally ranked games coming up here now this next week. A team that we really haven't talked a lot about, but has just been silently moving forward, Mineral Area out of Missouri, suburb of St. Louis. They're at number 17 this week, and they're going to go play Three Rivers, who's at 13. That's going to be a really competitive, good game, I think. But they got to play at Three Rivers, and that's not easy, Yeah. We go back to Kansas. We got Butler County at 21, playing number 16 Dodge. That's a toss-up. I don't care if they're playing home or wherever, it doesn't matter, Northwest Florida State, number 4 this week. Pensacola's been hanging around now. They're 14 in the country this week. They could be 3 or 4 in their own league, and they're 14 in the country. Think about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Wabash Valley. He's at 6. He's a juggernaut on the offensive end. He's got to go over to Vincennes. They're about 50 miles from each other. Kind of a good rivalry. Harry Meeks, longtime coach at Vincennes. We'll see if he can get the upset, because it's probably Wabash that's favored in that game. New Mexico, 5 this week. Been kind of consistent staying there. But this is a big game for them. They're playing at number 11, Odessa. That's going to be a tough game. And I'm sure Odessa is going to be ready to rock, and they're going to be ready to play 40 minutes of defense,
No doubt.
Yeah. And that's what he's known for. He loves that pressure. Southern Idaho, number 15 this week. They're going to be playing Salt Lake. So here we had Eastern Utah last week with Salt Lake. That was a good game. This one's going to be good as well at Salt Lake this week coming up. So there should be some interesting outcomes in that particular game. Chipola back in the poll at 24 this week, deservedly so. They've had a good run this past 7 days, but they got to go over to Niceville. They got to play Northwest Florida State, and that's not going to be easy for them. So this will be a defining game maybe for the Indians at Chipola. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about Butler County again. They're going to go play at number 1 Hutch later on in the week, and see if Hutch can remain pure, and that's not easy to be. I mean, you can attest to that. It's not easy to stay number 1 and be undefeated for a whole year, is it?
No, it's not, because it's kind of like we talked about with our last 2 our last number one teams. That game after you become ranked number 1, it's a trap game. I said that last week. It is a trap game. It's so hard. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. It's hard to maintain that spot. It's hard not to be tight the next game. It's hard not to feel that pressure. But what's so crazy about the upload and about the games that are happening, every game that is being played besides 1 are against 2 ranked opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And Vincennes is receiving votes. So,
yeah.
I mean, next week, this to be true. We're about to have some jumbling in the polls. It's just going to happen. It's
Absolutely.
just going to happen. And I love it though. I love the parity of our game. And I love how these teams are getting in every week and they're grinding. And, you either eat or you get eaten, right? So you gotta bring it. Like you said, you gotta bring it every night of the week, every night that you step out on the court. Man, I love this game.
Yeah. So these coaches got to coach them up, and we're going to talk to a coach that coaches them up, because next on the hot seat, we've got John Anches. He's been rolling at Hutchinson, Kansas Community College for a long time, and he's got it going still. So we'll see John Anches next when we come back. NJCAA Hot Hoops.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
Show. We are so happy to have you here with us today on the JUCO Hot Hoops. And I'm just going to jump right in it. Congratulations, number one.
Yeah.
Thank
Congrats.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
23-0.
Yeah, seriously. About time, right? I mean, you guys have been having a great season thus far. And we have just really enjoyed watching the work that you guys are doing and all the work that you've been putting in. So talk to us just a little bit about the journey. You guys have been undefeated and working so hard, but you hadn't quite made it to that number one spot yet. So talk about how you just kind of kept your girls going. And I mean, I would have a chip on my shoulder if it was me, but just talk to us a little bit about that and how the journey's going.
Well, the journey's really gone pretty smooth. We've been really the chasers. That's how we started, and it really gave us a lot of confidence when we went on the road the first game and played a great Dodge City team, and we kind of got really fortunate at the end and won the game. And then ever since that game, we've it gave us a lot of momentum. It gave our kids a lot of confidence, and we've continued to get better from month to month. So it's really a compliment to our kids that they continue to grow, and they haven't been satisfied, and they're still chasing.
Yeah.
Kenya, I was at that game where Hutch played at Dodge. It was a great atmosphere. And John, it got down to those last few minutes. I mean, and as Kenya and I have alluded to virtually every show of the year, it became a guards game, and you crunched it up down that last few minutes. That's what put you over the top. Has that been what the norm has been for you throughout these last 23 wins? Is that you just kind of have you find a way to know how to win? Is that what your concept is? Is that how you're thinking, your process?
Yeah, I think you raise a good point. I mean, we don't have the greatest depth inside, and our post players are really not back to the basket players. So we really had to lean on our guard play, and Journey Armstead has done a great job of leading our ball club at the point guard position. We have a freshman, Kiki Smith, who it has just gotten better and better and better. Playing with a lot of confidence, shooting the basketball extremely well. And then we got a Sacramento State transfer, Acacia Mungeridge, who just she doesn't wow you with her athleticism, but she always seems to make big plays for us coming down the stretch.
Well, your team seems to play with it like you're a model of efficiency. You know how to get it done during those late stages. And you're right. You're not imposing inside, but your kids seem to have this little edge about them. So, I mean, you must be doing something right there in Hutch.
Well, I think we're playing to the strengths to our kids. We've really gone away from what we've done in the past and opened it up, and I think it's playing to the strengths of our guard play. We're very aggressive. We're getting downhill. We're getting to the foul line, but we have this edge about us in close games to kind of raise our level, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that, you guys have a really good plan, and that your girls are really, your young ladies are really well coached. And so it's very interesting to me, though, when you say we have started to play towards the strength of our players, right? Because there's so many coaches that with a great amount of experience, right? And they have their systems. And sometimes it's hard for us to relinquish that control of our system. So I love it that you said that, because it's a very fine line of giving away that control, but embracing the kids to really have some ownership of what they're doing on the court. And I love that. So, we've talked about guards, me and Dan talk about that all the time. And I really like it how your guards have just taken, again, ownership of your teams. I mean, talk about having like that floor general on the court that can just already know what you got going before you're thinking it. How important has that been, with just them really leading the way and keeping you guys on track?
Sure. When you coach, you had great teams. You had your best teams are with your best guards, and that's how I feel like our team is the reason why we've been successful, is just because we've got great guard play. And like you said, we've gone away from really the past of the system that we've tried to install into our kids, and we've given them a lot more freedom, and they're playing that way. They're playing with freedom, they're playing with confidence, and they're making the right plays.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys next, is it Butler County that you guys have next?
We go on the road tomorrow, and we play at Cali, okay. and then we have Butler at home on Saturday.
Okay.
Big game.
Yeah, both of them are big, just because Cali's I think 10-4 at home and just knocked off Dodge City, and played really well against Dodge, and then Butler is right now tied with Dodge in our league, and so we can't look ahead against Cali, and then of course Butler coming in on Saturday. That's a big rivalry game for us.
Yeah. So what's the conversation like? What's the conversation like with your kids as they prepare for this week? Because let's keep it real, it's a little different, right? You've gone from hunting to being the hunted, and we've talked about it before. This game, after being ranked number 1 in the country, which right now it's fabulous, but it's not. You don't get your championship yet, right? So how do you keep them, just hungry and on track, and let them know that this game, after the rankings have changed, it's a huge game for us, because we're headed in the right direction and we want to stay there. So what's the message this week?
Well, the message this week has been, obviously it's been good and bad. It's good that we got to the number 1 spot, but bad now. We've got to continue to play with composure. We've got to continue to control what we can control, and that's just our effort and our execution, and hopefully that we continue to stay locked in, game in and game out.
Yeah.
Because that's one other thing that I've been really pleased with this group is our consistency from week to week, and just how connected that our kids are, and so it's really been a fun journey to this point.
That's so awesome. I'm excited for you guys.
Kenya, their team is a model in efficiency. I mean, he's got his system down because it's been a consistent number every year. They kind of know where they're going to be. They play within themselves, and his kids really overachieve. I mean, they put up solid numbers. It's not just one person every night either. I mean, John, you're putting up sometimes 3, 4, 5 kids in double figures. There's no hero every night for you. It's a new hero every night. And I think that really keeps you got a nice setup. You've done a great job I know you're being modest about this, but from the outside looking in, you have established yourself as one of the primo teams in the country. Count on it. They're going to be there every year, Kenya.
Yeah. Like they always have been. I love what you do, Coach. So much respect to you and your program and your players. And man, I just wish you guys the best of luck, and sure we'll see you guys in Casper, Wyoming.
Well, I hope so. We still got 7 games left, and then the tournament. So hopefully we don't fall off the horse.
No, you're not. Don't worry.
You won't let it happen.
Yeah.
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, John, for being on NJCAA Hot Hoops on the hot seat.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
NJCAA Hot Hoops, and we're closing our show for the day. Kenya, any closing questions, mailbag, Twitter that you might have?
Yeah, we got 2 really good questions this week that I want to talk about. With us having the new number 1 team of Hutchinson, Kansas, what was the highest ranked team out of Region 6, which is the Kansas League, in the past? Like, where can we find the highest ranked team since Hutchins is number 1 this year?
Got it. I would have to say that it was probably Seward County. Toby Wynn, who was a longtime coach at Seward County, did a great job. He's retired now. I think in 2017, they had a team in Texas, in Lubbock, anchored by a 6'8" low post player from Poland, Joanna Grimek. And I think they made it all the way to, I know they made it to the top 4. I can't remember if I think it might have been even the finals that they got to. but they would probably be the one team that's been to that level since Hutch.
Yeah.
But Butler County's flirted with it because they've been to the national tournament, but I think Seward's probably the one.
Yeah. I
So
would agree with that.
good question though.
Yeah, when I think about Seward, I think about Jim Littell, right?
Jim Littell.
He killed it at Seward, and then Toby took over him
Yeah.
when Jim Littell and I both went to Oklahoma State together. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Jim Littell, one of the great, not just junior college coaches, but college coaches, period,
one of the
that's
best.
ever been out there.
Yep, yep, and he is at UMKC now.
Is he?
Mm-hmm. Either UMKC or Wichita State. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's doing great. Okay. Question number 2. Now, this is a very, very good question.
Okay.
And very, very interesting. And we could have lots of opinions and thoughts on this. But why do we think so few junior college head coaches become Division I head coaches? Why do we think that number is so small?
Yeah, that's a interesting question, and I think it's warranted that it's asked because, I mean, you got people out there over the long haul like John Anches. I mean, he comes to, Rooney Scoville, who's been at Gulf Coast. Madonna Thompson at Shelton State. These people, Bart Walker, he was an assistant for a while, but he wasn't a head coach at Texas Tech or Tennessee Tech. I think that there's some naivety that people have about junior college, and I think that it's not right. I think that there's some brilliant coaches in junior college. Man, they grind. They wear all the hats. They know what's going on and they prepare. They don't have 10 people helping them out, and no disrespect to the ones that do have that. That's great that they do, but yeah, I would be a huge advocate if someone were to call me and say, hey, what about so-and-so that coaches at a junior college? Are they capable? Absolutely, they're capable. They may be more capable, so they deserve their shot. So that's a good question, and one that needs to be probably corrected, I think, as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you do see division, or you do see junior college head coaches get the opportunities to go on to Division I's and become assistants, recruiting coordinators, that thing.
Right.
I'm really trying to think of the last junior college coach that I know that left junior college, went on to be a Division I assistant, and then took over their own program.
Yeah, I mean, one person that I remember that went and moved on from a head coach at a junior college to being a head coach at a Division I school was Laura Beeman. But Laura Beeman, she was at Mount San Antonio in California, and now she's at Hawaii, and she's been there for quite a long time now. Done a great job, both as a JUCO coach and as a coach at Hawaii. So that's one that I can think of that's pulled it off. So
not enough. We shouldn't be able to say just one.
I know, and I'm sure there's probably a couple others, but it's not coming. It's not ringing the bell.
It's not as relevant and frequent enough. That's why we can't.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
All right.
You know what else I think?
What?
You know what we should do with we should pose a question to those people out there that are going to reply to us for questions.
Okay.
What's your top 10 all-time junior college players?
Ooh.
I mean, that you can go way back.
Yeah.
There have been some phenomenal players from way back before we started. Okay.
Yeah.
But you think, I mean, look, last week we had Danielle Adams on. Danielle Adams would be in that mix.
No question.
She's one of the best that's ever played, She'd be on my team.
Yeah, that would be so fun. But it's
Yeah.
almost would have to do like generational. Like,
Yeah.
'cause, like,
So let's
there's
see if we get any feedback
yeah,
from people in respect to who's the best 10 JUCO players, women players of all time.
let's do it.
Yeah.
I know our fans
So
are through with this. That's gonna be fun next week.
yeah, let's get some replies.
Let's
So
do it.
wrap it up.
Yeah, what a fun show.
We had a good time.
A good time. So excited to have Hutch on with us. We got a new number one.
Yeah.
Games coming this upcoming week or this week. So always such a great time to be on with you, Dan, and promote and celebrate the game of women's basketball. So thanks for a great show, and we will see you guys next week.